Good morning, team. Good morning, all you beautiful, beautiful members. Thank you for piling in here. Thank you for joining up. Good morning, Jimmy, Mo Money, Mark, Lukash. What's going on, guys? Maki, Vero, very good to see you, man. Jazz. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the mentfx private mentorship. And welcome to webinar 219, I believe. Let me just double check everything. Phenomenal. So yes, welcome to webinar 219, where we get to pick up from some of the areas where we left off and continue to get a little bit better every single week amongst each other. Ashish, very good to see you, man. I've seen you've been just absolutely killing it recently. Also, before we continue, guys, can you see the screen? Do you guys have your chats open? Is everything working from that end? Just want to make sure that's all good. Okay, we're going to take this. Hopefully, there aren't going to be any issues from Discord today, I hope. Good evening, word of mouth. Happy to have you back on the team. I see you got the leaf now, but I remember your name. No voice. You should be able to hear me. YHS, congratulations on the insane results and progress that you personally have right now. I might even touch on it today. So we might do a little bit something like that. Mo Money says, what a result yesterday for Alkins. What happened yesterday? I didn't get to see. What's up, Seer? All right, guys. So as always, I first of all want to welcome back all the existing members and very quickly welcome any brand new members. First of all, if you're brand new, welcome to the team. Something that I just want to say and that I say every single week is that, what is this thing? Why is it in my way? Hide this. The minimum, no matter who you are, is simply to work your way through the material at least once, right? That's number one. That should be your sole and only priority. Monty, what's going on? Hey, how are you? Alkins did very well on Quig. What, this was yesterday or on Friday? Sounds like a stalk to me. Oh, can't even find it. Maybe you bet on like a game or something. Either way, congratulations if you made money or something, okay? And the reason I just wanted to start today's webinar by just simply stating the obvious, which is if you're part of this team, which you now are, one, make sure you start using at some level the stuff available to you, right? So for instance, actually, let me just do it this way. The website, as you all know, contains basically the portal to everything that is necessary. You have the members portal, you have the screener, the sentiment viewer. You don't have to be so, this is not as important because these are the things that actually, you know, that are important to you. And ultimately log into the screener, have some form of accessibility to it. I'll talk about the importance of this in a second. And even more importantly, open up the members portal. Let's do it like this. Open up the members portal and start working through it. The worst thing that you can do for yourself is skip going through the material that actually is meant to improve you, that I've spent my entire life at this point. To put it simply, like I spent my entire life perfecting this exact content right here, right? There's really nothing more for it. I know places and channels and businesses, like trading businesses and things that charge anywhere from like 8 to 15,000 for equivalent levels of, let's say, education. So use it, right? You can literally, even if you're brand new, use it for a month at minimum. If that's all you do, leave, take the time to actually execute upon the material and then come back to, well, I guess pay your respects or to just share your story, right? It's one of the best things you guys can hear me, right? I'm just making sure. Jelmer, okay, good. And the only reason I'm starting at least just with that message is because I keep seeing a little bit of the same thing here and there, which is things like, where was it? Things like, can I locate this? There's a few things I wanted to start by talking about today, just from the last week and just some like technical and psychological things that can improve all of us. But it's things like this. So when I see things like this, right, my initial framework is to always lean towards helping, resolution, try to, let's say, bring confidence or experience to the person in the shortest amount of time possible, right? So when I see someone, and hopefully 64-bit gaming, I don't know if you're here right now, maybe I'll tag you. So at some point you take a look at this, yo, jump in, right? I just want to tag him so he has this, right? When I see something like this, there are two places my brain goes. So I read, hey sir, I'm a little bit confused in section 9.15, multi-timeframe entry, please help me out. So on one hand, right, like, please help me out. Like, I am the first person, right, that will literally take you by the hand and say, okay, what do we have an issue with? How can we improve you? Like, you guys know that intra week, as any week plays out, as any week happens, you guys have tagged me my entire life, right? For the lifetime of this mentorship. Like, I don't even know. Yeah, there's like 129,000 results of me just typing shit. And if you just look through some of this, it's just between anyone and everyone, and each message can be up to paragraphs of like information, right? So I won't hold back on information, okay? But what that means from a standpoint of someone that might be educating or trying to improve you, right? Because I'm not just an educator that's sitting here making like, here, this is your information, this is your information. Like, I am here to also simply be surrounded by people that are amazing at what they do too, right? One of the reasons that I'm able to be more profitable, unironically, is because people have walked the path, found their own profitability, and I can learn from the members that we now have. Which is an amazing thought, right? Just from the top of my mind, our good man, our friend, one of our funded members, I think it's Scrooge, right? Scrooge, he's been an insane help, even recently within the team, and most recently, hopefully he doesn't mind me showing this. Oh, well, actually, he sent this to the overall team, so it's going to be fine. But recently, he literally posted, I have an image of it right here, he literally posted just his last year of results, right? So like, I don't know, how can I do this better so you guys can all see this, right? Here we are. So, he posted his last year of results. You can see this is from around September 5th. And since that point, you should be able to see firsthand that, this is an insane curve. This matches or looks like my curve. It looks like even better potentially than my curve. It is a phenomenal equity curve, right? And it came from the exact same steps that we take over and over and over again, right? So I'm not just sitting here to educate, right? I'm here to, in a sense, enable you to become infinitely better and then to learn from you. Because the person that is doing this, whoever that might be, it might be you in the future, the person watching this is likely you in the future. The person doing this is going to have markets that show up on their screen, or markets that they for whatever reason find and see. And what's amazing, let me switch this back to everything. And what's amazing is that when that happens, I have a way to secondly screen for a really good market too, right? So the first thing to understand is that we are filled with people that start at a very, very beginner level and people that are at an extremely already existing profitable level, and we can learn from everywhere in between. But what all of this means is that at a certain point, you need to also be able to specify the issues you have while completing the existing requirements or qualifications to actually improve. I don't hear anything, can't hear anything, Discord bugging. Can you guys hear me? Okay. If most people can hear, then there is something on your end. Check your output devices. That is all. All right, hopefully they figure it out. So when I see something like this, so 64-bit gaming, it's a good name, right? But for yourself personally, right, you need to allow me to help you, right? That's number one. So like when I see this, my brain can only go into one of two places, right? One is, has this member finished the material? Because when I read this, I hear someone that has started working through, got into a point and said, oh shit, I can't use this right now in this moment or execute upon it, and therefore I don't know what I'm doing, so therefore I'm going to message and I'm going to get the blueprint. And even if that's the case, right, so let's say I could give you the blueprint. What blueprint are you looking for? What does this mean, right? I'm confused in section 9.15, help me out. Right, so think about the way that is structured, right? I want to help you and I will help you, and you're going to get better over the next month, 2 months, guaranteed, right? but I need you to specify what it is that's happening, right? So one of the two things is, did he finish the material? And two is, what is he actually asking? What does he actually want me to help him improve? Does he just want me to speak about the thing that already is taught in the portal, or is taught as you move through the portal, about the fact that price is acting fractally, that the EVC acts within itself, that the C is oftentimes the playing out of a cycle on a V, which is oftentimes the playing out of an entry cycle on the E? Is he confused about entry cycle, momentum cycle, right? Where are we actually starting? So your number one thing, if you're watching this, or if you have the ability to type into the webinar chat right now, or to type into the future when you see this, is, do you at least have the surface level knowledge to ask a question, right? Because it's necessary. Otherwise, like, what the fuck are we even doing, right? Do you have the surface level knowledge to ask a question? If not, then move through the stuff that is necessary. So anyone that's brand new, there is a reason the portal exists. There's a reason the portal currently exists as it stands, right? There's a reason this literally is made. There's a reason that as you move through it, you are bound to be, as I like to say week after week, you are bound to be confused. If you are not confused as you work through this, that means, in a sense, that you are fully profitable, right? Because if you're not confused, then you're not confused about any bit of understanding, cycles, course, monetary, like reward, value, EV, making that EV come true, executing, right? If there's no confusion around what you're doing, then, well, you should be technically profitable, right? In a general sense. So if you're getting stuck right here, right? If this is where you're getting stuck and you still have more than half of the material, if not more, I believe this is only up to like 30% of the material complete, then why are we allowing that confusion to guide us, right? So the number one thing I want to start off with today's webinar is just to remind every single member that your main goal is to finish the material at least once. That's it. You finish the material once, you have a better understanding than most people do in the entire world about approaching a market, or thinking about a market, or thinking about a market in timeframes, or acting from a time frame of your choice, blah, 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 blah. So just do it once, right? That's all I ask of you. Okay, so 64-bit gaming, please go through the material. That's all you have to do. Now, as always, questions are very much welcome, especially in these webinars. So for instance, 64-bit gaming, if you have an actual question regarding, multi-time frames or multi-time frame entry, whatever this means, then ask it. But ask it from the perspective that, anyone can actually help, because what does anybody do with this, right? What about 9.15 confused you? What about it completely threw you off? So I can see that in this case, it was about momentum and accumulation MBs working together. Well, okay, what does that mean, right? So where is your problem lay? Now, in a webinar like this, you might see me break down a number of my own trades, a number of the markets I'm watching, an actual trade I might have taken from last week, etc. So for instance, here is a trade, where is it? Here is a trade that once again I am in. Here is a trade once again that I entered last week, right? In this case, it's actually on Friday. So let me actually go ahead like this and get rid of all this, just for the sake of being, because as I do this, I wanna group all this and just hide it, and I'll hide this too, right? So here's a market. Let's put it that way. Here is a market that I decided to trade last week. So this will also be a technical breakdown of this literal point, right? And every single week that I've done a breakdown, I've broken down the exact reasons as you have taken them from the portal material, so that as you move through the portal material, or as you've already moved through it, so I see in the chat right now, K9 has been through it at least 2 times now. But when you see me break down this trade, not from a standpoint of just visually, when I go, look, this is the move you saw in the portal. Not just visually, where you can be like, okay, I kind of have seen this move in the portal, but when I break this down for you step by step, which I have in many webinars, right? So where's the stage 2? Where is the flush? How is the flush interacting with the, let's say, notion of an anticipation of a higher low? How is that building new accumulations? What does that look like from a perspective of the V and the C? What is my EVC? How is that ratio working? Right? When I break down a trade step by step, you get to see directly how the live market is traded within the realm of what you've learned, right? So you can imagine that if you're showing up to a webinar, or you're learning from a trade that I've taken or someone else has taken, or if you're learning from a trade that other very profitable members have taken and traded and made money trading, then the easiest way to actually understand what the fuck is going on and create some kind of relationship to it is what? Well, what's step one? You have to have the material completed, right? Because everything is built on that foundation. So if you have half the material and you're ultra confused and you're like, I need this explained to me, then the question is, why haven't you continued, right? It's the equivalent of getting on a call with me right now. So let's just say you paid for a one-on-one. Boom, you're with me, right? I'm looking at you. This is, I'm talking to you. And I go, okay, Mr. 64-bit, what's your current understanding? Well, Anton, I know up to section 9. And I go, okay, so you see this and you understand this at a small level. Yes, I do, Anton, but I'm still very confused. Okay, no problem. So let me now, instead of having you pay infinitely less and having you now continue through the sections that put every piece together, let me instead, while I'm on Zoom with you and you only, now talk to you a little bit more about how my process of finding trades works, how momentum and accumulation MBs work together. Let me talk to you about how MAs work in terms of what I do. Let me talk to you about how Cycle Advanced works, and you can keep paying for one-on-ones for the next 60 hours so we can talk about it one-on-one, right? You can see how there's a disconnect that makes no sense, right? So what's going to happen, even if you were to talk with me directly, is I would be giving you a shittier version, maybe better if I'm like truly one-on-one with you, but basically a shittier version of what's right here, right? So everything should be pointing towards the same thing. Go through the material once. There has not been a single member, I don't think, and maybe somebody can confirm, and I would love if somebody can give me real criticism from the things they've taken in so I can improve the things they've taken in. But to this day, I have not seen one member that has worked through the portal material at least once fully, at least once. I have never seen someone go, oh, I don't even know what they would do. I have never seen like someone sit there and go, I don't know what the fuck is happening, this is bullshit. I understand being confused and being frustrated with the process, because guess what? The process is fucking complicated, right? As we've said like time and time again, the trading process in itself is one of the most complicated and annoying and tedious things that you'll kind of ever do in your life, right? There's so many things in the world that are leaps easier and don't take as much kind of work and tediousness and mental drain and energy drain and emotional drain. They're close to isn't anything, right? Because you're going to be doing a lot of stuff for no guaranteed reward whatsoever. And unless you quite literally treat trading itself as like a piano lesson where you just enjoy the process of learning to play piano, even though you know you're not going to be like the fucking the front piano man of the best band or like the orchestra, right? If you can treat trading in that respect, that's the only time that it becomes something that is digestible, right? So for a lot of people, trading is one of the most undigestible things they can have in their life, right? Because if you put trading here, and then we think about things that are similar in terms of like the type of things that you would have to do without monetary expectancy, you'd have something as dumb as like piano lessons, right? Or like taking another language lessons, or I don't even know, gym, right? Things like this, where like, if you were to ask like a group of random people, even if I asked you guys, you guys, by the way, you aren't random. I love you all. I know you all. But if I was to ask you guys, a group of general people, and I asked you, do these things have almost an over 80% monetary reward associated with learning them? In any moment that you start learning them, what would you answer? Right? Or doing them? Like the answer would be an instant no. Not a single person would be there, but maybe if you become the best of the best, you could make money. It's like, if anyone here, started doing any one of these at any level, the second you start doing it, even if you're paying for them, and guys, guess what? To get piano lessons that are really good from someone that's one-on-one, it is not fucking cheap. Same goes for language, same goes for maybe personal training, same goes for diet, same goes for, you guys can, maybe you can throw a few ideas out, but all these things fit into the same thing where if any one of us started doing it, and then you asked someone, hey, is there a monetary value associated with this? The answer would be no. And then funny enough, the second you look at 90% within this space, there is an instant belief that starting to do it means that monetary reward is going to follow. It might be small, but most people even believe it's going to be big. So, going into trading, there's this unbelievable, what do you call it, like pressure mounting on you, because you forget to treat this thing like the things that it's generally like, right? Because this is a tedious process, a tedious one. It's not just piano lessons where everything is proven. You just have to learn the notes, learn the hand placements, and just repeat and get better at them, right? Trading is where you literally are given the notion of a piano and are forced to learn carpentry. You are forced to learn how to build the piano. You are forced to learn how the inside mechanisms of the piano work. You're supposed to learn how music theory work, and you have to craft your own musical pieces while crafting the piano, while crafting the things that makes the piano have sound. And you have to build a piano that's going to actually function. And not only that, but you have to learn how to then play it and make sure that the piano you built actually is a piano. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine not knowing what the fuck a piano is and being forced to build it and learn it? Well, that's trading. Now, of course, you can make this process a lot easier because I can hand you a booklet of the steps it takes to build a piano. I can hand you a booklet of how musical theory works, about how general music writing works, about how you can generally improve posture and finger placement and what wood to use, etc., right? But you would still have to do it. Now, it's hard because now imagine tying this thing with also needing a monetary value. So imagine the person that picks up this booklet, this fucking large booklet of all this shit about pianos, and as that person picks up that booklet, their first thought is, the second I open this book, I should be able to see a little bit of profit. Okay, what is going to be the success rate, right? Boom, you get your 90% failure. You get your 90% people fucking running around headless chickens. You get your 90% people that are like, my family doesn't support me trading. My family doesn't believe in me. It's like, dude, you are so far gone. It's not that your family doesn't believe you. It's just that your family looked at you pick up a book that's telling you how to build a fucking piano and learn all these things, and they're sitting there going, this is going to take you a lot of time and you're not going to make any money with just this. And you go, you just don't believe in me, you little fucker, right? I'm going to go build my piano. It's like, be very honest with what the space looks like, and you are guaranteed to improve. And more importantly, if you treat this thing right here, if you treat trading as something that is a passion, as something that you want to just get down, as something you just want to learn and give time to learn, you are guaranteed to improve, which means you will actually go through the things that are going to improve you. You will have the process at your fingertips and have every step of it worked out, so that by the time you come to a webinar, you come to a trader, you come to an idea, and then you ask me a question from, like, let's tag 64-bit so maybe he sees this, and you ask something like, hey Ment, can you show me an example of how the momentum cycle on the V related to the E cycle in terms of accumulation and flushes and stages, specifically on one of your trades. Right, this is instantly better because now I have a way to look directly to something that I can help you with, right? So now, if this was the question you were going for, I can give you something along these lines. Hey man, so you've already been through the portal, so I don't have to sit here like an idiot explaining to you things that you might not know yet, right? So I know that you know what an EBC is, and I can start off the conversation by saying, okay man, my entry is acting as the hourly. For the most part, if the hourly meets my entry criteria, I'm pretty much set to trade. I just want to make sure this relates to my V and my C. Now, you already know, based on the portal material and based on ratios, that my V is going to be around a 6 hour, or in my specific case, because of the webinars that I've shared over and over and over again, and my trades, I am looking for a daily in terms of my V, and my C is going to be a weekly. And now, we have also the steps associated with going through this. So I can tell you, actually anybody here can tell you that before we even look at this trade independently, this trade or this trade, which is something that I remember and know, our good man Scrooge right here traded because, well, I talked to him directly and he posts his things, but I know the same thing is going to be prevalent here because he traded this thing. And we're going to look at 2 examples because he traded this thing right here, owns, ONDS. He found this through the screener. By the way, you should be using the screener, like I said. But he traded this thing, and I traded, like, whatever, this thing. And we're going to compare some things, right? But I know before I even touch anything, and I ask people here, what is the weekly chart going to be doing? There, for the most part, for people that have started to analyze, case study, and know, they will tell you the answer, right? Like, if I had to ask you, is the weekly in a large stage 1 or in some stage 2? If that was one question. Or if another one was, is it in a momentum cycle or not? Right? If I started to ask some of these questions, there'd be a very quick and easy ability to answer it. And then I can also prove that. So if I go to the weekly, I already know, before I even look at this, that I am going to get one of 2 things. I'm going to have a stage 1 that happened at some point, and a stage 2 that started via some form of candle. So I know that at minimum, I'm going to be above some point like this. At maximum, I'm going to have a move that's already started to deliver and might look like this, right? That maybe at maximum. And then beyond that, I think we can have something that might look like this. So no matter what, before I even go to my weekly or break down this specific trade, I know my weekly is going to be here, here, or here. No matter what. Basically in one of these spots, right? And this is going to apply to anyone that I look at now that's trading the exact same EVC that I am, right? Of course. So anyone that has a very similar strategy or uses the EVC like I do are going to have this exact same thing playing out. So this already will start to answer your question. 1, it'll give you analysis of stuff that we're doing now within the context of the portal. But 2, it'll start giving you an answer to your question if your question is to do with how do the cycles relate to each other. Because now we know that if this is some cycle that's happening here and I'm entering it, that we know that that's happening within some higher cycles. So let's take a look at the weekly and see where we actually are. Well, isn't that interesting, right? What do we have? We have price move out of a stage 1. As price moves way lower beyond all the averages, is moving like on its own into one direction, price begins to build a longer term stage 1 and has, as I drew out for you, the candle that validates accumulation. And clearly the trade is not coming from the initial accumulation validation, right? It's happening higher up, okay? Well, price then moves higher up and then it builds that stage 1. Whoops. And then it builds that stage 1 or that MMB. And we know this is an MMB because, well, the portal material has walked me through or has shown you examples of what a momentum cycle looks like. And if we're on our V or our C, what cycle are we generally oriented towards? If we're looking at our V or our C, what cycle are we kind of trying to pinpoint our eyes onto? Can anybody answer that question? I mean, I know you guys can, you know, I'm sorry you have to get up and like type it now. I know we're all trying to chill. Thank you, Black. Thank you, Phobe. Thank you, Maki. Yes. But the cycle itself is the momentum cycle. So we have something that we can directly look to. And we know, just from the cheat sheet, let me open up the cheat sheet. Where is the cheat sheet? Here it is. And we know, just from the cheat sheet itself, here we are. Is anyone else to send pictures in the chat? Oh, is that disabled? Okay, that's something I might have to fix. Let me see if I can fix that. Hold on 1 second. Dun, 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 dun. No, Discord's not fucking around. I might have edited a permission for that. Let me see if I can fix that for you. Anybody try to send like an actual picture and let me know if it works. Right now, you might not be able to. Let me see if I can fix this. try now. Beautiful. Okay, thank you. Yeah, okay, I'm glad you let me know that. Yep, thank you very much. Very helpful of you. And it should work now. So, what do I do here? Let's go like this. Beautiful. Here we are. So, again, if we just think about the cycle, right, we know that the momentum cycle, because that's what we're looking for on a V or a C, should be delivering into these potential labels. And we know that it all starts with an accumulation MB. It shows some kind of sign of true momentum, and it starts moving higher on the rising averages, right? So we already have the visuals and the material that lets us define that. So currently, to start answering your question, right, we then build, if we want to start labeling everything in front of us, and let's actually make this cleaner. So if we want to start labeling everything in front of us from a standpoint of what's actually happening, and we'll actually go further left so you can see this. If we want to label everything in front of us, what we have is we have a market that was one-sided, that moved into a stage one, and broke that stage one around here. And that was your initial form of sign of momentum and accumulation MB. If I had to label this full market, that's what I would do. Then you get this pause. Let's just draw the pause with, you know, some of the candle bodies here, just like that. I'm just going to draw 2 lines like that and label it. We have an MMB1, right? Very simple. So to make this very clear, I likely would have been open to trading this asset the same way I recently traded it inside of this leg here, clearly, and potentially the continuation of that leg, because it's meeting the cycle of momentum. So we know that the first step of relating an E and a V to a C is by seeing this general delivery, right? And again, like as we start to pause up here, you would probably expect the same thing. I would assume you have an MMB2, because at this point, this is what we see. So the expectancy, does everyone see, just looking at this, that this is a momentum cycle to the upside? There's nothing more we have to do. We don't have to sit around guessing if there's a new high, or if it's gonna go lower, or what the fuck it's doing. There is simply a process that we follow. And the cycle points towards one thing. Diplo gang, where do we have the cheat sheet? The cheat sheet's actually available to anyone through email. So if you go to this site, mentfx.com/cheat sheet, you'll just get it sent to you if you need it. But again, it's exactly what you learned in the portal. It's just a kind of like a mini put together, right? It's what you have in the Miro that I shared. So Diplo, for you, it might even be better to look at, let me find it for you, the cheat sheet and data collection right here, right? So you have the data collection, and you have the actual cheat sheet associated with the Miro. Oh, what's up, 64-bit? Mwah, bless you, man. Bless you for joining up. I hope that you were here for the beginning. If you weren't, make sure you rewatch it. But one of the main things for you is to make sure you're working through portal content. And what I did is I tried to reframe your question, because I'm not sure what your question is, right? So I tried to reframe your question into what is the interaction of the EVC? And what I'm doing right now is I'm breaking down this specific trade, the one I took, through the steps so you can see yourself how important the portal material is in actually lining it up with a market. So we're going to continue from here. So does everybody understand, before I move on, that this in itself, as it operates currently, is simply an MMB2 and the delivery of a momentum cycle on this given time frame? And in our case, we're looking at the C timeframe, so we're mainly focused on the momentum cycle. That's why our labels are associated with the momentum cycle. And that's important, because one of the ways that we correlate, one of the ways within which we, within which we correlate a EVC, or one of the ways like 64-bit gaming had a problem with, one of the ways that we try to layer the fractality of multi-timeframes is by understanding what cycle and labels we are using. So if we know we're looking at a momentum cycle, the V and the C, then our labels need to be consistent with that. Where's the accumulation MB? How does it look? Where is the sign of true momentum if we really want to label things? Where is the MMB1? Where is the MMB2? Where is the MMB3? Where is the MMB4? In the event that those things exist, where's the distribution MB? In the event that you have a longer term and actual delivering market, where is the accumulation MB? Where's the accumulation MB? Where is the delivery through an MMB1 or 2 or more? Where is the distribution MB? Where is the new accumulation MB? Same thing as we saw before. And you, by the way, guys, have access to this sheet. So for my man Diplo, this is the sheet that you probably want to use because it has more fractality in it, and you can, zoom and shit, right? It's a much more classy or whatever, right? Where is the MMB? Where is the MMB? Where are you in the move? Is there clarity to the move or not? So the first thing I do is, of course, use the labels to label the momentum cycle of at least a C before I even consider the correlation of the C to a V and to an E. That's it. That is minimum in terms of what I do. So if I'm looking at this C at this time, that's what I see. If I'm looking at the C, that's what I see, right? Accumulation MB, MMB1, MMB2. And it is the case that if I was trading during this time, I would be going long inside of this leg, right? And it is to be understood that there might be losses and break-evens as a result of this move that comes up, but that is part of the game. And from here, price moves into, if we kind of draw like the area or the stage one that defines this move, again, back to the portal material, does everyone remember that's been through the portal how we think about stages in terms of the fact that they don't perfectly define price, but they define price in a well enough way to understand how price actually tends to move. And that's important because, again, if you even just look at this drawing, if you really think about stages, stage 1, 2, 1, right, 2, 1, what you'll actually notice is that by the time a move has happened, you're usually too late to the move, so you need to wait for the next piece to get into the next move, which is why it can be very confusing for a lot of people in the very beginning to understand stages. But again, if you start to draw these things out, you start to see the same thing. Stage 1, that moves into stage 2, stage 1, that moves into stage 2, stage 1, that moves into a stage 2 on the downside, hence this line here, or you can move this up higher. But again, I'm using the price as well as I can. So if I am to continue labeling this thing, I would actually say that at this point, this became a distribution MB, right? So again, I would just simply delete this because I try to keep my own cycles and things on the chart very, very clean, right? I try to keep things extremely clear as to what they demonstrate. And then from there, you start going into a cycle to the downside. So this is an opportunity if you want to trade to trade the short side because of what we have overall, right? You actually have the option to do that if you wanted to. So you have your MMB1 to the downside now. If we really wanted to label everything, MMB1, I would suppose this would be the formation of an MMB2, right? And you would suppose and follow that through. I would suppose this is the formation of an MMB3, and you would follow that through. I would suppose it's the formation of an MMB4, and as it begins to form and go sideways, that MMB4 seems to start delivering and then to fail delivering at this point right here. So clearly, whatever MMB we had building here, whatever was maybe being built here, is now failing for the purpose of either accumulating or redistributing, right? So we play that game. Now for my own models, just by the way that I think, when I have a 50 that is not purely going down or is not redistributing lower or is maybe kind of moving a little bit sideways, I will attribute the one-sidedness of the market to a potentially newly started bullish market. Right, so if I draw in my stage 1 high, again, all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to define where's the stage 1, and then what kind of high can that align with? I could draw it over this, I could draw it over that high, I could draw it over this little high here. It doesn't really matter, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to try to contain price in an area that gives you a very clear sign of momentum if price goes to a new direction. So on my C time frame, if I had to keep labeling, using just what we know about the cycle, I would say this is my accumulation MB. I would say this could be an MMB1 right here, but I would probably not do that due to the fact that we kind of pause inside of this area. And I would label this candle itself, if I had to label candles, as the sign of true momentum. If we're going by perfect labels. So if we had to label everything we did, just like you saw me write it out within the cheat sheet as I taught you guys, right? So here it is. If we labeled everything perfectly, let me actually go to the mirror because it's much easier to see all this. So if we actually go inside of here, and again, we waited for this accumulation MB, which we did just now, right? This is what we waited for. And then we had to label the accumulation MB and the sign of true momentum. Does everyone at least up to here, for this specific context, understand why I would label exactly this? Or is there pure confusion where you're like, nothing makes sense? Because that's important. If there's nothing that makes sense, verbalize that. Let me understand the issue. Not just, I haven't seen the content, so I'm just fucking whatever. Verbalize the issue if you see one, because this is the moment where we can literally work together to improve certain aspects of your own understanding or misunderstanding, right? But this is how I would simply view this, right? This is the steps of the portal put into frame, right? And again, all we've done so far is we haven't looked at any relation to the V or anything yet. But as we do that, it could help answer 64-bit's question regarding how the fuck does EVC like correlate? How do they work together? I'm confused, right? Because again, that question itself doesn't help us, but we can arrive at something that might actually help him by going through the steps. Trader Victor says, so does the overall condition of the market on the C not matter since it looks primarily bearish? So yes and no, right? Because when I say things like, I want a C time frame that is one-sided, I don't just mean it needs to be pushing only to one side at all times and then it pauses and keeps going. So what's interesting is I actually have two models, if you want to think about it this way. Maybe this is something I could actually add to the portal material or make a video on. But I actually have two models based on my own case studies that have given me good C timeframes. So for instance, Trader Victor, so that's a great question because look, I can actually talk through it based on the material. So for instance, a C timeframe that is consistently switching from accumulation to reaccumulation to distributions to accumulations to distributions, etc., is a very, very hard market for me to follow. I have recently done a few one-on-ones, and even within the webinars, I've brought up this example multiple times, right? This example right here. If you look at this example, this is an example of a C timeframe that I would not touch. Why? Because there is no consistent delivery with the moving averages. There's no consistent delivery to one side of the market, either bearish or bullish, which means every cycle that happens is what? Instantly met with inconsistency in prediction of what's happening next, right? So no matter what I do here, I am almost guaranteed to be wrong about anything I do, right? For instance, oh my God, it could be an accumulation MB or a distribution, right? This could be an accumulation or it could be redistribution. Okay, here it goes. Should I go long? Oh, it's gonna work. Oh, fuck. Okay, maybe it's gonna be distribution. Should I be short? Oh, wait, it's accumulation. Maybe it gets getting above here at least. Okay, no, it's distribution. It's distribution. Oh, thank God it's distribution. Redistribution? Okay, it's accumulation. Clearly it's accumulate. Nice. Reaccumulation. Okay, it's distribution. It's redistribution. Accumulation or distribution. Okay, it's accumulation. It's right? If I played that game of trying to apply the labels are inconsistent, right? So what I do, Trader Victor, is I define a valuable C timeframe by two main models. And everything starts with cleanliness to one side. So when I have a clean move to one side, what does that mean? When I have this clean move to one side, it means only one thing. It means either that clean move retains its clean move on the downside, and I can keep playing the redistribution, that's one, or two, that clean move gets displaced or has a sign of momentum that changes the nature of this move to the other side. That's it. So it can only do one of two things. If at this point it begins to shop again or go back into another back and forth or go back into a new distribution, even though it's accumulation, that's when I can walk away, right? So what's interesting is that the overall condition is important, but the primary look is not as important than how do the actual moves happen. So when I get a move like this and it sustains itself, this is perfection to me because we have a one-sided market that now moved from a one-sided to a one-sided, right? One-sided, 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 one-sided. It's now on the upside no matter what, right? So when I say I want one-sided markets based on my own case studying and testing, I have two kind of models on a C timeframe that I'm okay with having. One is we come out of a big move into stage one that actually starts a move, and that I'll use primarily like some of the nature of the 50 to like understand where the fuck I am, right? And the other is you have a clear move to one side, so like this, and then what? Price might then pause, distribute, but be overall still bullish, and reaccumulate. So this is what Bitcoin has been doing. This is what gold has been doing. This is what NASDAQ has been doing. Those are all very good examples recently of these things happening. And even I think Euro USD did this recently, right? So for instance, if I go back to one of the examples you saw in the portal, so NVIDIA is an example I traded and have brought up in the portal a lot of times. This is a great example because this is, look at this. Here's a one-sided market that's bearish. But then at this point, the bullishness on it sustained itself, right? So this is the exact same thing, even at this point, that we just saw on Ethereum, okay? And then that bullishness sustained itself. And the next time that bullishness broke down, for distribution, look where it was in reference to the 50. Look where it was in reference to the move, and what did it do? Reaccumulated. That's a one-sided market. So there's two things I'm willing to look at, right? A one-sided market to the downside that becomes bullish, that's this area here, which is valid for me to trade, or a bullish market that re-becomes bullish without chopping around. That's this example here. Does that make sense to you, Trader Victor? Does that highlight to you what I mean by not just I need it to be going to one side, but more so I need it to be to prove that it has one-sided delivery, right? So for instance, I also had a call recently in a one-on-one with someone that said, I've been trading gold and I don't understand what I did differently, because he had some amazing like 15-hour trades like before, and he said, I don't understand what I'm doing differently because I'm trading kind of the same models. So I went to it, and he trades an EVC where 5 hours is C. So let me go to gold really quickly, and let me show you the 5-hour C. And actually, before I do that, I want you to remember the JNJ weekly. I just want you to remember this. I want you to remember this. This is a market I would never touch. And now look at gold on a 5-hour. This is the market he had been trading and told me he didn't understand where he was going wrong. Well, let me show you guys something important. I'm a mentor, right? I'm a fucking genius. I know everything about every market. Ready? If I go to the left and be fair about everything I do, here it goes. Okay, distribution kind of holds but goes up. Okay, that's hard, but it might be redistribution. Then it distributes down, okay? Holds distribution. Choppy, even with wicks, but still holds distribution. Holds distribution, maybe moves into redistribution or accumulation. Look how far it is from the 50. Okay, that's hard, so I'll wait. Maybe moves into a accumulation here. Okay, now I'm in accumulation, but then, now it's distribution. Okay, this is distribution now. So now it should redistribute. Oh, it's accumulation. Okay, now it could accumulate here. Oh, it's distribution. Okay. Okay, distribution. This could be continued distribution. Oh, wait. Maybe accumulation or distribution? Okay, it's accumulation. It's accumulation. It's accumulation. Nice. Making money on accumulation. Again, accumulate. Oh, fuck. Okay. Maybe reaccumulation? Okay, distribution. Accumulation. Nice. Got it. Right, so notice that. 1 in 10 things that I'm doing is right, and at the same time, everything is choppy, not a single thing makes sense, and if I try to ascribe a label to what's going on, I am fucked. And that's as your mentor, right? As the guy that technically should have everything figured out, that should have any market figured out, and should know everything about every market. I cannot, for the life of me, predict it. At all, right? I just can't. So when we get to these points here, I can't sit here and be like, yes. Like, because he traded around here. He traded somewhere in here. And I was like, look at the move you're trading. Look at the wicks. Look at the interaction with the moving averages. Look at how it doesn't sustain moves in a certain direction. This makes it impossible for me to know what this given asset is doing at this point. And if I tried to force it, all I'm doing is taking losses. Okay, so that's what I mean by one-sidedness. I'm gonna read some other questions in a second, but I wanna finish this breakdown because it's important that I showcase to you exactly how, like I said, the EVC interact with each other, like I promised for my man 64-bit. And primarily for Trader Victor, he said, does the overall, okay, that's he asked, and then has this help? Oh, you said makes a lot of sense. Okay, good, perfect. So now we understand that. So we went from a one-sided market environment, which is important. That's a stepping stone for me in terms of EVC to a sign of true momentum. And again, if you think back just to what I did at the beginning when I drew you an example and I said, I know that my entry is going to have what on a C? A move out of an area that goes accumulation. And then my trade is either going to be somewhere here. It's either going to be into a delivery that's already happening, right? So somewhere here, or it'll be after an MMB starts to form, and then as it begins to deliver, the same thing happens, right? It can be here or somewhere here, right? Does everybody remember when I drew this out at the very beginning of my actual entry on this given pair? Before we even talk further, does everyone remember this drawing? And this drawing was simply a representation of what I want to see happen on my C time frame before I even step down. Now, we know, let me ask you this. Are we, if I labeled these, let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. At the given moment, could it be said that it would be valid for me to have taken a trade on my V or my E? That's the only question I want to ask. At this given point on this asset right here, would it make sense, given my 1, 2, 3, 4, that I would be taking a trade somewhere on a V or an E inside of this action, even here, like that? Boom. Does it make sense that I'd be taking some trade or be in some trade at this point or at this point if I circled it? Like here or here. Somewhere here. So I'm getting some no's, but Eddie is actually correct. Because again, look at the visual. If my C, this is why it's so important to show up to these and go through this step by step. If my C time frame is valid for a trade, right, already at 1, 2, 3, or 4, and then I show you this, well, okay, let's line it up. Here's my stage 1. Here's my push higher. Are we at minimum 1? Look at this. It's the same thing, right? So the answer is actually yes, right? So even after all that, there's some people that completely miss the point of all this, right? We need at least 1, 2 candles. I mean, 1, yes, but this is 1 candle right here, right? That's a move above, exactly. This is my accumulation, my sign of momentum. The second I get that, I'm in an area where I could be trading. So I want to make that really clear, because just because I'm taking a trade somewhere up here or wherever doesn't mean that it, 1, wasn't valid the trade before, but 2, you need to understand why it was valid the trade before. So does everybody, before I even move on, understand how I could have already traded the V and the E? Because it lines up with this 1 and 2. Simply. Because the C time frame has already started this move. Stage 1. Move higher. Move higher. 1 is a pause somewhere in here. 2 is a area somewhere in here, because these are all V time frame moves, right? And that's your first component to how does the EVC interact with each other? Well, one of the ways is that when the C begins to become very clear, your V is already going to be starting to deliver that momentum cycle. And that's where we want to be traders, right? So before I even explain the V or label the V or show you the V and the E and all the fun shit, we need to understand what is actually happening, because that's going to define if we even should step down. Because another kind of trader would look at this and be like, the V is valid to follow. It made a move higher. But where you are on the averages, where you are in reference to the move, wouldn't make sense. And now somebody trading this right here is going to get chopped up in most markets that do this following it, right? Because this would still be a relatively bearish market. This is why it's very important to understand, where are you actually willing to trade? What kind of areas are you willing to take risk on? That's very important. And this actually leads me to an important point that I really wanted to touch on in this webinar, so I'm going to do it right now because I think it perfectly highlights this kind of next step. Let me find it here. Yes. So you guys know that I say it all the time, showing up to trade doesn't work. You know, what this simply means is that if you're showing up to expect trades, it's never going to work for you, right? Most of trading is actually not doing anything. And a huge problem, if you have this problem, you should know that you have a problem, is that if you show up on any given day, so assume any day on any asset. Ethereum, sure. I showed up today on Ethereum or tomorrow. Monday, I'm here. Tuesday, I'm here. If every day that you show up to one asset, there is always a tradable option, you are very likely doing something wrong, right? The reality of trading is that, again, if you're looking at one asset, for the most part, there shouldn't be a trade for a lot of candles, right? That's really it. Even lower time frame, no, because we're thinking in candles. Think across time frames. But sometimes, yes, sometimes there won't be anything to do for a whole day, even on a lower time frame. That can happen. That's very likely. It just depends on EVCs, depends on what's actually happening. But the point being is, what I have seen in the past is, or I still see it on the Instagrams of the world, is you'll get something like this. Ready? Imagine today I decide to go the SMC, support resistance, retail trade / trade signals route. Ready? Okay, guys, coming up on Monday here. So Monday's around the corner. Let's see where we are. We're kind of building this little pennant or whatever the fuck we call it here. Clearly coming out of that, so expectation probably could be up, down, up. Cool, let's draw in a zone. Let's draw in maybe a zone like across here. Clearly we're in some kind of this. Let's take a look at the hourly. And, you know, before market close, we had some nice news. It clearly came out of this. So at open, we should see this sustain. Either it comes down here and keeps going or just keeps going. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take this buy and boom. Right, so this is your example of a natural mentorship where no matter what market you look at, there is always a reason for trade in that moment. One of the biggest problems you can have, and if you have this problem, make sure you recognize it, is that if you show up and there is instantly some trade idea available, you are likely doing something wrong. Most of the time, there shouldn't be a trade idea available on one given asset at that moment perfectly, right? It's going to require either time to be weighted, candles to be weighted, an EVC to be weighted for, or another asset to look at entirely. The second you have this thing where you show up and there's a trade, you are very likely doing something wrong because, as you guys know, just the fact of showing up to trade, it actually doesn't work in itself. And I saw this actually happen to a member at the beginning of this week. Here's someone that's new. Here's a member that's actually somewhat new. And it was crazy to see this, but maybe when he watches this, this moment fixes his idea or mindset, right? Because this was so crazy. Hopefully I can find it. I think it was somewhere up here. That memory's working on fucking speed dial right now. Hold on, guys. Look, this is perfect. So here's a member that showed up. And look at the first message. So the strategy doesn't work on all markets like it was advertised. Because as you guys know, my advertisement, I just posted sometimes. I say, any time frame, any market. And he goes, the strategy doesn't work on all markets like it's advertised. It's just for this trending ones and only when it's easy and trending. So this is the immediate mindset of, if I have a fucking pair, Anton, and I show up to that pair, I want a fucking trade in that moment. And if I don't have a trade in that moment, then clearly you have not taught me to trade any market at any time. This is bullshit, right? But you're misunderstanding what that actually means. What it means to say that you trade at any market at any time, it means that you actually have the ability to trade anything because you now understand what money coming into something looks like. If you think that showing up to trade just means that you show up, you do one piece of analysis, and you have a trade to take, holy shit, you're gonna be fucked, right? Because how can trading operate that way? If you know 90% of people lose, and 90% of people that lose are 90% of the time trading anything and everything at every single point and buying evaluations to instantly take a trade, and when they show up, they have a trade, and anytime they look at anything, their analysis leads to a guaranteed trade in the moment, why do you think that doing something similar, which is what you're doing right now, is going to work, right? It's not. You need to recognize that, even from this example here, at least given my EVC from the weekly to start with, there is a lot of sit-out power, sit-out time, that is created by the fact that we're waiting for a certain thing to happen on the markets, right? And all that's happening for you in your given case here is you have shown up at a given point in time and you said, this strategy doesn't work on FX, or this strategy doesn't work on all pairs like it was advertised to me. It only works, like, because think about what you said here. This is actually so amazing, because really think about what your mind did here. I'm gonna like try to highlight this, and RDL, this is out of complete love and out of complete want for you to improve and out of complete willingness to help you to improve, because in a month even from now, your understanding is going to outdo 90% of people that think the exact same way that you do. Watch this. So I'm going to circle a few important parts. So in one sentence, you said, it doesn't work like it's advertised. Not on everything, right? Sure. Let's just give you that for a second. Not on everything. And then in the next you wrote, basically to quote, unless it's a good market. So really think about this for a second. It doesn't work on everything unless it's a good market. Okay. Well, what does that mean? That means that if you're trading everything, which most people are, and it's not a good market, what's going to be the outcome? It's going to be chop, it's going to be losses, it's going to be blown accounts, it's going to be people looking at every new Instagrammer and YouTuber and new strategy that they can find that's going to give them new fucking trades at every moment of the day. And then you're going to be sitting on the sidelines going, well, this market isn't good because of this reason, so I'm going to wait for it to be good. And if it's good, if Bitcoin ends up being good, or Euro US dollar ends up being good, or Apple ends up being good, or fucking indices end up being good, or the JPN becomes being good, or UJ, or JPN 225, or Ethereum. Well, now, that's the good market you should follow, right? So you literally have the makeup. You actually have the makeup right here of a profitable trader, of someone that thinks in terms of, I shouldn't be taking random risk. But all that's happening is you're leaving a disconnect from the fact that you really want to trade right now in this moment on your given asset, right? Because I've been doing a lot of one-on-ones recently, and one guy literally said, I've devoted my life so far. I've devoted my life, and this has been like maybe 2 years for him, to FX. So I really want to stick with it, right? And I just said that, I'm like, that's fine. You can stick to anything you want. But what are you actually asking to do here, right? All you're asking to do is basically, again, to compound this understanding, all you're saying is, I want to watch 4 markets, or whatever, right? 4 markets, 2 markets, based on how many FX pairs there actually are, because they are all very correlated. I want to watch 4 markets on my EVC, and only take trades on those markets. Sure. There is nothing wrong with that. Just be aware of the fact that the less markets you watch, on the higher time frame that you watch them, the less opportunities present themselves. And even sometimes, even when you introduce a lower, based on the way they're delivering, the way the EVC looks, the way the wickedness or the choppiness or the illiquidity of that given market in a given moment looks, it might not even be viable to be in that market. Or even if you add more things like comms, slippage, etc., all of a sudden it might not make any sense to do even 4. It might only make sense to do like 2 markets if you're lower time frame and need to account for comms and slippage. So all of a sudden, all you're telling me when you say something like this, right, is I want to trade 2 markets for the rest of my life on my given EVC. Sure, nothing wrong with that. Just know what that means, right? There's still going to have to be time. Just because you've chosen to trade something or chosen to do something doesn't mean that you've gotten rid of the time element, right? The time element's always going to be present. So because of that, you just need to make sure that works around you. And like I said, like you have the makeup of a profitable trader right here. You understand it, right? You're literally saying the strategy doesn't work on everything unless the thing that I'm trading is really good. You have defined trading by yourself just now, right? You have literally made it clear why so many lose and lose forever, right? You made it happen right there. You literally said it. You said, it's so crazy that people are losing money on trading everything because it doesn't work on everything at all times. Yes, done. That's the starting principle of trading. Why do you think every trader you've seen that's profitable is like, well, you must wait, you must be patient. The patience is going to make you money. They're not just saying that because it's fun as fuck, right? They're not just saying that because risk management is all that matters. You must risk a good amount and you will make money, because it's not true. It's not risk management that makes you money. It's not emotions that make you money. It's patience. And everything is built around patience because, well, if you don't have patience, you trade the shit you shouldn't trade, right? That's it. So JLVC, I hope you see this before you move on to the next course or material or whatever the fuck it is. And I hope you message me back or tag me or something and recognize what you said is completely true, right? And plays directly into this point right here. Where is it? And plays perfectly into this point right here that I made, which is that if you're showing up and you have a trade available, you are actually very likely in the realm of that problem because you can't show up and have a trade available. It just makes no sense, right? This is the equivalent of, here we go with the most dumbest example of all time, but it will make sense. You're a farmer, man. Okay, you're a farmer. You've been farming your whole life. Okay, you farm during the seasons where farming works. Now a farmer moves in next to you on the farm next to you, and it's fucking winter. And he comes in with his tomato seeds, and he pours them into the winter frozen soil. He pours them, and he starts watering them, and he's like, I will treasure these seeds. I will nurture them. I will water them. I will give them what they need to grow. And every day he shows up, he waters the fucking seeds. It's winter. It's freezing out. He's watering the tomato seeds. You go out to him, you go, dude, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, shut up. I'm watering my seeds. They will grow into beautiful tomatoes soon. And you're like, wait, dude. The soil doesn't have the nutrients in it that you need right now. Everything is frozen. They literally can't establish a root. They have no proper sunlight. They won't grow. And then you know what his response is? He looks at you, the guy that just moved in trying to fucking plant his tomatoes in the winter. He looks at you and he goes, are you telling me that I became a farmer and I can't plant these fucking seeds when I want to plant them? And you look at him and you're like, what do you even mean by that? There's going to be a surplus of tomatoes. You'll have more tomatoes than you even know what to do with if you wait till summer. What the... Or like spring, what the hell are you talking about? He goes, no. They told me if I farm, I will have tomatoes. You're like, yes, you will. But you can't plant in the way. No! The frozen ground must be the nutritious ground. Like, what is wrong with this guy? So that is what I see here, right? When I read or see this, or when I see someone come to me and they go, Anton, I can't figure out how to trade this C time frame. Show me the way. Or Anton, I keep taking losses on gold on the 5 hour. Show me the way. And I look at it and I'm like, dude, I wouldn't be able to plant a tomato in winter. Why are you planting the tomato in winter? Are you crazy? Right? Okay, so that's your example. The simple example is that you need to be able to wait for the conditions to be right? Otherwise, you're just going to fail. And it's not going to even almost be your fault. It's going to be the problem of your own kind of greed, ego. Like, what do you even call that? Right? Yeah, planting in ice. Exactly. Right? This right here is your equivalent of trying to plant tomatoes in ice. There you go. That's what you get for it. Right? And that will apply to any market. It doesn't matter. So like this is the example. Like imagine Mr. RDL. Well, I'm gonna tag you so you see this in the RDLC. What's up, man? I want you to get proficient at this as you can. This webinar is important. Webinar is important for you. Like imagine Mr. RDL was trading an EVC that's mine. So an EVC where the C is a weekly. And he only traded, for whatever reason, he said, Anton, I love J&J. I'm only trading J&J. Sure. Well, what's going to be true about a system? There's not going to be much stuff available at the moment, right? That's it. Sure, you can trade whatever you want, but there's not going to be a lot of stuff available. Now, can you imagine if you're the mentor and I tell you, I'm only trading J&J, and then I look at you and I say, what you're teaching is kind of bullshit because when J&J is going back and forth and doing nothing and making wicks back and forth, I can't take a profitable trade. What the fuck, Mr. RDL? How come when a market is complete trash and it's icy out, why can't I place my tomato? Are you scamming? Did you take my $100? Did you take my $100? You motherfucker. Like, think about that, right? Like, what the fuck? You cannot be trading this way, right? We cannot think in this respect. We have to think in context. This is why I teach you in the portal and why it's so important to work through the portal. I don't teach you to trade a market. I trade you to trade a context. When the context moves into a good and set EVC, we trade it. So let's get back to right here. We have our sign of true momentum. We have an EVC, or we have a C at the moment that's aligning, which means the V and the E are going to become very, very good. Now, price pauses and moves higher. Let's just draw in a few lines for fun, because lines look good, and they make the chart look like they got some more stuff going on it, and people like lines. Now again, if we just think back to what I gave as an example, if I had a trade available here, would or should I be trading it? Does it make sense to be on a V and an E trading this right here? And this is primarily, I know you guys can answer too, primarily for 64-bit. Would it now make sense for me to have trades on a V or an E here? Based on everything we've discussed so far, based on the progression that we've had. And I'm waiting for my man 64-bit. You better be here, bro. Where the fuck are you? Oh, he's typing. Let's go. Beautiful. Does it make sense to you, at least at this point, 64-bit, why we would trade here? And have viable V and E's before even looking at a V and E. Minimum. That's all I want. I need a yes or no for that. And if no, maybe try to give me a little bit more info as to why. But like Gucci said, you're completely correct. This is your fertile soil. This is your spring. This is your fall. This is when everything is ripe. And literally, putting a tomato anywhere will naturally result in some rotten tomatoes, but in overall, growing, right? They're going to grow. I'll let 64-bit write his thing out. But very simply, guys, this is a C I would be completely happy to trade. Your internet is weak. It's fine. Just rewatch this after. I don't want to like take a ton of time just repeating. Are you happy to trade before the bullish candle? Like in here? Sure, but the V is going to be in distribution. So again, this is where now we start to see the E and the V align to the C. Very important, right? But all I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to discuss the C time frame alone, right? Oh, you said no. Okay, well, write out why. So all I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to show a C time frame that might be viable. I'll wait for it to prove itself. So here, at this point, you need the C time frame to prove itself here. So what do you need the C timeframe to prove at this point? What has the C timeframe not proven yet, right? So far, to give you the story, right? Because we think in stories. The story of this is one-sided market that moved into accumulation here. And I would have already been trading inside of this accumulation. And then I said, then we get an MMB and we get a move higher. If I started getting trades inside of my V and E up here, would that be viable for an entry? After black candle, I'll wait for a bullish candle. There already is a bullish. Look, there's a white candle right here in front of you. Yes, okay, so you agree. Okay, perfect. And to demonstrate this to Mr. Gucci. Oh. This is literally the trade I traded. This is literally the trade I traded. So as it pauses, right, only one of two things can happen. And there are things that we can do to confirm that. So as the weekly, in this case, paused, only one of two things can happen. Either the V time frame is in a momentum cycle that is worth trading, or what is the V cycle doing? Or the V cycle has flushed or begun a distribution, in which case we wait for an accumulation. That's it, right? So let's go and take a look at that inside of this leg right here. Beautiful. Oh, let's play this forward. Okay, so we go to our daily. So now we start to relate the C to the V. Now, if I'm on a V time frame, what cycle am I most interested in before I even consider anything. What is the cycle on the V that I'm looking for? What is it called? Yes, perfect, 64 bits on it. The momentum cycle. So no Gucci, not the flush cycle, not an MMB1, MMB2, black, simply the momentum cycle, right? I have a C, a V, and an E. If I'm on the C, what am I looking for? Momentum cycle. There are things that I look for in the cycle, but I'm looking for momentum. The V, what am I looking for? Momentum cycle. Okay, so let's look at where we are in the momentum cycle of this given leg, because that's all that matters now. Well, we had price move higher, and then flush down or break down for a distribution that we can draw across and becomes an accumulation. Whoops, and becomes an accumulation. And we're gonna use blue now to label everything, which means our sign of true momentum happened maybe on this candle, just like we had the sign of true momentum here. Again, doesn't mean I'm trading it, I'm just labeling it. That's all I care about right now, and I'm looking to align things. Then we have like what might be an MMB1 here or here. Completely valid to label either one, it doesn't really matter, MMB1. Price now starts to pause, and already on the V here, we are clearly in an MMB2. Okay, so like I said, the first thing we need to remember is that when we have a C time frame make an MMB, only one of two things is now going to be happening on my V, right? It's either going to be a buildup of a momentum MB to trade higher, or a distribution that we will wait to become an accumulation. So I can be a trader here on the MMB1 of a V, or I can be a trader here or here on this MMB. Does anything there, even though that's a little bit of info, not align with what was one, taught and formed in the portal, shown in the portal, worked through in the portal, in terms of just momentum cycle and potential viability to be traded? If we had price start to sell off into the rising averages, is that a viable point as to which we could trade on this given pair to the long side? That's it. That's the only question right now, right? (64 bits) typing or something, but again, we'll just continue from here. Okay. So now we know what one relation of the V and the C could look like. So for instance, if the question from 64-bit or anybody else meant the black monster is better, it's good too. It's good too. They're all good. I like this white one a lot, but I'm not sponsored, so I'm not showing their logo, okay? So we already understand that there's a relation between the C and the V, right? And that relation is that if the C is making a cycle, and this is actually taught in the portal too, which is why it's so important to finish the portal, but in the momentum MB of a C, you're usually going to be in a momentum MB or a reaccumulation of the V. That's it. So we know what we need to wait for. Either we trade the MMB, right? Like right here, or we trade an MMB, like right here on the rising averages, right? Because that's what we've seen happen over and over and over again from a standpoint of momentum cycle, or we get an overall distribution that becomes reaccumulation and we become traders somewhere here. Before I move on, does all of that make sense in terms of expectancy? This is how you have a bias. This is what bias looks like on any market you look at. This is how you form a bias. This is how I don't sit there like guessing if, oh my God, do I act? I have the entire move mapped out. This happens, I'll trade here. This happens, I'll trade here for this move. That's it, it's mapped out. I know what needs to happen. Either it happens or it doesn't. And now we also see the relation of the V and C, that's a multi-time frame relationship, for a cycle. Okay, and now to also demonstrate, could there be an E timeframe entry in here that's valid? And should I be taking it if it is? At this point right here. Yes, perfect. You guys got it. If there is an entry there, which I don't know if I traded there, I don't think I did, but if there is one, I should take it. That's it. So that's where I know as the MMB is created on a V, the relationship of the MMB on a V is what on an E? Well, it's what we call the entry cycle. Right? So, back to square one. Dun, dun, dun. Anton, where is the entry cycle? Oh, there it is. Well, what are the labels associated with an entry cycle if we're in an MMB? Okay, there should be some kind of, if we want to go through all the steps, a major flush that then starts a stage 1, that then starts a stage 2 to the upside that moves above some of the MAs, then it flushes down or below the 20 EMA, then it starts to build double MBs or multiple double MBs, at which point it will create the next stage 2, at which point it can have inside flushes, etc., etc., etc. Okay, well, now we know that an entry time frame should be going through this. Stefan says, from which candle would you move to an entry time frame? For me, the first time I move to an entry time frame would be on this candle after it completes. Why? Because it came to the cheat code rule of the 5 EMA. Because at minimum, before I drop down, I want to see a pullback worth actually considering, right? And for me, that's at least a move to the 5. So that's it. Let's step down and look at that exact moment. Well, let's talk about it step by step. Here we go. Will everyone agree that if we just look at this overall move, this could be considered a major flush? Okay. Can we consider this as a stage 2 move? So again, we can label absolutely everything if we want. Stage 2. Here it is. Okay, what's after a stage 2? What should occur? A flush. Because we are following the actual steps of the cycle with nothing more. We're not here to confuse anything else, right? This is how, by the way, 64-bit, this is how we relate the portal material to the stuff that we're doing, to the stuff that's live, and get better at seeing it because all we're doing is following the same steps now, right? Okay, so, and again, I'm breaking down my trade because this is a trade I took, by the way. So, we flush to or below the 20 EMA. What should I start to see happen from this point forward? We should start seeing accumulation, double MB, because this is a flush. We can label that. Can this be considered an MB1? Sure. I'm just waiting for price to pause. Moves higher, pauses up here. This is personal preference. If you want to trade something like this or not. Right here. I probably skip this because, well, it's just, you know, well, actually it pauses quite clearly. This could be an MMB or double MB that you trade. Now, based on personal perspective, case study, data, you can or cannot trade this, right? This will be up to your personal preference. For me personally, I'd say this is fine. I'd be happy to enter an MMB, maybe something along these lines. This stop loss would be around, how much? 6.7. I probably wouldn't take that with the ATR being, oh wait, no, the ATR at this point was 3. Yeah, I would not take this at the moment. Maybe something like this. Still looks good, actually. Kind of fails down, and I'd cancel it. Done. Okay, the move didn't happen. We're still in a flush. Nothing more. We're in a flush, moves higher, who cares? I don't see anything I can do. Okay, my E's not lining up. Okay. Okay, maybe we're flushing again? Oh, that's it for now. Okay. Maybe accumulation? Kind of a pause, very weird action, but you could consider a long here. Doesn't have to be wrong. Right? Perfectly acceptable. Here you are. A viable and potentially fine long. There you go. Actually looks okay. Okay. Done. Nothing to do. We start playing around, doing kind of nothing. We're in a, and we flush. Okay. Let's go to the daily. What's happening on the daily? Well, we're building an MMB with clean selling on the rising averages. So at this point, this could either be a distribution MB to start a reaccumulation, or because of where we are in reference to the averages and where the 50 is and where we're moving higher, this could simply be an MMB still forming, right? That's it. Because we don't know. So we can keep an eye on the E time frame as it flushes here. Because, let me ask you the questions again. Is this still a stage 2? Is this still a flush? Right? Okay. So we wait for accumulation. Price moves higher. This already in itself could be a viable long. This is preferential. If you're okay with longs that look like this, go ahead and take it. Right? There's nothing wrong with this trade. This could be a, look right here, look. This is a perfectly valid and viable trade. What's my ATR? 3.7? I'll probably throw it like here. Perfectly viable. Nothing wrong with this trade if you wanted to take it. Let's just assume like whatever. Boom. Take. Stop loss. Boom. 4K risk. There you go. Right? Nothing wrong with this. Wait for now management rules. Now again, if you want to wait, like 64-bit said, I will wait. Sure. MB1, MB2, nothing wrong with waiting if you don't like this trade. If you want to wait for something cleaner like MB1, MB2, if that's what you wait for, then nothing wrong with that. Then wait. How did you put your stop loss on in a back test? You just drag it. Look. Like that? I never saw that. Well, it's there. 4K risk. Okay, we wait for a break-even rule. I'd probably break even in the next candle. Nah. If it starts moving through this high, I'd break even. Okay, I'd give it a second. Hello? Okay, looks like it's going to be a loss. There you go, and you take a loss. Again, it could be a break even, could have been a loss, or this could be your double MB that was clear and then it failed down. Perfectly acceptable. This in itself now, though, because of fractals, what is this move in itself? Well, it's an MB1, but it also could be a stage 2, right? So this could be a flush, and if this holds, then, you know, you can get like a double MB here, or something, or this could all still be part of this overall move. But all you have right now is you have a E cycle that is still rooted very well in this actual move. So we have a stage 2 into what appears to still be a flush. You could consider, some people that are fucking crazy could consider this long. I probably wouldn't. This is too low for me. But there is a double MB forming here. Just keep that in mind as we do this, because again, based on who, like that could be an entry with a stop right here, just so you guys know. I wouldn't take this. It's a little bit too low for my taste, but there's nothing wrong with it. I want to make sure that's clear. So I'd wait. Maybe an MB1 just formed, right? Maybe we get a double MB. Okay. Same thing as what happened here, right? A move I'd be happy to execute. It's the ATR 2.81. I'd probably just throw it right behind some of these averages like that. I probably would do this. Something like that. Okay, same thing, 9, okay, we'll just buy, 4K risk, boom, there you go, right? Same exact thing, nothing wrong with it. Wait for a break even, kind of go sideways, okay, and you get a, oh yeah, okay, this is where I didn't trade this one, I traded here, I remember this. Okay, you move to break even, wow, that's crazy, right? And you're up more than you've ever fucking risked, but amazing, okay, great. Then, here's your double MB, now, because of where we are, we know what about the cycle? Well, in a cycle, after the double MB, what happens? Here, let's actually do it on the Miro. After a double MB, you get MMBs, because within the stage 2, yes, within the stage 2, you get MMBs, right, of that move. So personally, this is important because when this paused, like this, I buy stopped personally this high. This is a long I took. Right? You guys might remember this. I buy stopped this high because we were still operating within the floating supply. within what I would call the V timeframes MMB, and my expectancy was for minimum to clear this, then maybe to fuck off, or to deliver. Right? That's it. So, I entered through this. And you can also look at this as this. 1, 2. If someone trades larger versions of accumulation MBs or larger versions of MB validations on an entry time frame, does everyone understand how this can still act as a double MB entry for some traders? This is why it's so important to understand cycles first, how you root yourself within cycles, and then to understand the kind of entries that work for you. This is why it's so important, because one person's entry here might not make any sense for someone that trades a little bit something like this. But both are completely valid and completely based on the management and the preferences and the personality types of the people trading them. This is the trade I took right here, right? And then this trader might start making a 50% partial like here or here, I probably assume, right? So 50% partial. Like if I traded this trade, which I didn't, I missed this one, guys. I missed this one, it seems. I traded this one. Maybe I have a partial up here at that candle. 50, 50. I'd just probably start trailing the like 50. I'll probably get stopped out of 50 right there. I don't know. If you're just using up candles and you're still here, then you're here. What the fuck? Oh, it gapped up, right? I remember this now. Yeah, then you're down here for 50%. Wait for your up candles. You can wait. Right, so like if you wait for up candles, you're likely to be in more of a move, but you also give a chance of giving up that gain, 50, etc., right? And then there you go. Right, so you close out of 50% of your position there. The game looks unfair now, and then you manage whatever. You can manage like whatever your rules are. I'll just manage with a 20 to make it easy. Manage with the 20, manage with the 20, manage with the 20, manage with the 20, just a little bit behind the 20, just a little bit behind the 20 permanently. Okay, just put it at the low probably, and there you go. Right, and there's your full trade. So, did any of the actions taken themselves, from entries, losses, management, to completion, throw everybody off guard? Why is he doing that? That's crazy! Or did everything so far line up exactly with what you saw and learned in the portal? Portal, 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 portal. Right? Remember, portal fucking portal. 64-bit, I'm just gonna say it instantly when I read this. This is a terrible system. What the fuck does this mean? Risk per trade, 0.3% of the account. Daily target, aim for 4R, 4 times the risk return per day. Dude, you're going to get swallowed by the market. The second you set a goal-based RR, especially to a given day, you are done. You are fucked. There's no such thing as, I'm going to show up and make $600 every day, and if I miss one day, that's it! Right? Like, why? Why? What does this do for you? What does setting that daily goal do for you? It does nothing, right? All it does is it forces you to maybe trade in some areas where you would never trade. Maybe it forces you to trade on assets you would never fucking touch. And then you have a monthly goal too. Stop trading after a 12% return. Like, we got Menta's Mickey. I do the Mickey voice for my baby, you know? So it's stuck in my head now. But why would we have a goal-based system? Would you close this trade over here because it met your goal? We just made $42,000 at a risk of 4K after taking a loss. Here it is. After taking a loss, we made a gain of over 40K. Would you have closed it at a gain of 10K because it's such a big trade? That's crazy, right? Like, what the fuck are we doing? Right, why? And before we move on, does everyone understand this trade? Like, so again, I'm just gonna write this out. Management, okay? Wait for move. Like break even early, right? BE. Trail with up candles, 50%. Close with 20 EMA trail. If that was just my rules, right? Like maybe this is like a better rule set for like catching these moves, but let's just say something like that. 64-bit says no because this increases win rate and gives time to live a life. Oh God, no, dude, no. It's the opposite. No. God, no. One, having goals does not increase win rate, ever. This is completely untrue. You are, though, correct that on a 500K or whatever size account, big accounts, 4RR trade's enough. Yes, sure. But you have no guarantee that you're going to get 4RR a day. That's insane. Right? If I had a goal to hit 10RR a day, it doesn't increase my win rate. Right? The only thing that increases my win rate or increases my profitability, because win rate is a terrible... 64-bit gaming, you have to watch the portal. Win rate is not a metric that defines a system in any capacity. In any capacity. It's a small piece of it. Tiny piece. Right? Tiny. And goal-based trading makes no sense. It doesn't actually do anything for you. You actually lose money. Because look, 64-bit. What's my win rate just on this market that is actually a beautiful market? It's a delivering market. It's perfect. It's delivering. It's amazing. The EVC lines up. Everything's amazing. What's my win rate? 30%. It's 50%. It took 2 trades. One was a win, one was a loss. Oh, you're talking about my win rate actually long-term. Yes, you're correct. Mine's around 25% win rate. Yes. And actually, that's even a great example. Hello? I have a 25... Where is it? A 25% win rate! I'm right less than 1/4 of the time. Do I make okay returns? I have never set an RR goal in my life. Right? Do I make okay returns? Yes. Because it's not RR based. It's based on compounding the money you're making through good trades. So follow it. Unrazi, is a fixed TP good? Yes, you can use a fixed TP. Nothing wrong with that. That's fine. I just don't use fixed TPs because I look for these kind of moves, right? A fixed TP wouldn't give me this. But if the sheet shows you like a 15R as your best TP, then go for it. There's nothing wrong with it. And it can help you a lot with emotions early on because either there's a perfect area to close and you have that rule or not. Yeah, fixed take profit is not the same as a daily target. Trust me. A daily target is, I'm showing up, I'm taking a trade, and I need to get to 1-4. It's like, what the hell are we doing? It makes no sense, right? The Mickey Mouse ears. Daily target is suicide. Yeah, you can't do that. 64-bit, if you want to make money, you stop setting goals like that. Okay, so let's continue now. Because again, we're not talking about your 4RRs and your goals right now. We're talking about the specific alignment of EVC. Okay, and so far, this is the trade that I actually, not this one, I traded this one right here. Boom, that's the trade I traded. I made a lot of money on this trade. I did like 8RR, I think. Let me check. Ethu, boom, 8.6R. I did 8.6R out of this thing, personally. That was a very good trade for me. Now, again, I had that unlucky minus 5.6, so it kind of ruined this all-time high and then did this big loss here. But that's okay. That's the game that we play, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, but let me ask you this now. Is the weekly, if once again I drew a circle where price is right now, does this align for the image I had drawn before for a market that I might have entries on for my VNE? Basically, valid to trade the VNE, more than happy to take trades, more than happy to be in a trade. Does this align for that, or does that not align with that? So Gucci says it's a little extended. I completely disagree, personally, right? Because, well, I can only look to the cycle. And cycle-wise, all I have is accumulation MB, MMB1, which means we could deliver for 3 more weeks up. We could then pause, we could deliver for another 6 weeks up. We could pause and then deliver for another 2 weeks up. So nothing about this, to me, has pointed towards extension or doesn't make sense. All it's pointed to, the fact is that we have a good C, and all I can do is allow the V now to prove itself, because again, I now mask my C by my V. Okay, let's go into it. Well, price moves higher, starts to pause. Well, expectancy is to pause on the rising 5, 10, 20. Let's see if it can do that. Okay, we have a pause on the 5, 10, 20. If I am to label, this is now your MMB3 of the move, or the MMB1 if you're considering this C time frame. So that's important because that might mean there's another move in it. So this could be a 1/3, but I'm going to leave that on there because again, I'm telling the story of what is likely happening. Well, does this create an environment on its momentum cycle that the 60-minute or the hourly or the E time frame should be going into its own entry cycle? Yes, okay. Back to the 60. We have, well, let me ask, do we have a place we can label a clear stage 2 where we're not even confused that there's a stage 2 or a one-sided market or delivery? Okay, let's wait for our double MB. Now again, here is an area that might be too low for me, but is completely valid for some traders to be in. Actually, this doesn't even look that bad, to be honest. It actually looks pretty. This is something I might actually take. I would have actually probably taken. Okay, and then it just breaks down. Okay, whatever. So again, it's still a flush. Phenomenal. Oh, it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. MB1, MB2. Price is pausing. Okay. I have a double MB in a delivering market. A stage 2 has happened. A flush has occurred. The double MBs are being built. I can buy stop the high. I can use my rules. I can enter. Does it enter? 588. It drops down. It still looks pretty good though. I still think this move looks really clean. It's okay. I could still probably take it. It's still like this. It's still acting as a double MB. I don't think there's anything wrong with this, but you could also wait for like a move and then a pause. There'd be nothing wrong with that, right? Oh. Okay, yeah, this is, okay. I thought there was gonna be another move and a pause. This is literally the trade I took on Friday, and I actually had a bigger stop, I think. I think I had a stop down here. I'm not gonna lie. Bro doesn't even know. I completely forgot this was the trade I took. I thought it comes back down and then builds a move here, right? Like this, because I've seen it happen. But this is actually the move I took. And guess what? It lined up with exactly what happened to me in the moment that I actually traded this. I was going, yeah, it's still a pretty good double MB, and I gotta make something very clear. Did you guys notice, did you guys notice that I was still a little bit concerned or uncertain of this trade, even as I was just back testing it, back playing it, even though this was actually the trade I took? Did everyone see that or notice that I was personally, as I back tested it in front of you, a little bit uncertain? Did everyone notice that? Perfect. I want you guys to notice that. Here's why. I'm gonna go back one candle before I traded this thing, okay? Before I traded this thing, this is what it looked like. And you guys saw that I was a little bit uncertain. Now I'm gonna show you why I ended up taking this trade and without giving a fuck. Here's ETH during that point. I'm gonna show you it on a 2 hour because it's the lineup. Okay, here it is. This was that double MB. Everyone sees it? This is the double MB I traded on the other asset. Okay, all good so far. This is a lot cleaner, I would say. Much easier to buy stop this, but this wasn't the reason. The reason I was willing to execute the ETH through, even though the double MB looked like that, or came a little bit deeper and I was like, it's okay, but should I do it? Ready? Remember what this looks like. I even wrote it, insane strength, but watch this. Remember this low. Remember that it goes higher, pauses. Ready? Watch Bitcoin. no stage 2, no flush, going lower. Look at Say USD. No stage 2, no flush, and moving lower. No stage 2, and moving lower below the low. SUI. No stage 2, and moving lower. H-bar. No stage 2, and moving lower. Actually, this one was actually okay, but I think it was in a very bad spot on the V and the C. Okay, I'm just going to remind it. Solana. The only other one that looked kind of strong, because it had at least a move, and then it started to not go lower. ADA. Going lower. XLM. Going lower. Turbo. Going lower. XRP. Going lower. ETH. Sustaining the double MB move with an initial stage 2 that flushed and held onto the move and is now pushing higher. So we go back to ETHU, and can you see very quickly how a 50-50 or even a 60-40 uncertainty instantly became a 100% I am down to take risk on this? Where one loss means whatever, and a winner means we are in the strongest market, in the strongest pair, on an overall delivering market. Because remember, it has not changed. The actual underlying cycle of Bitcoin on the C, let me get rid of everything, is what? What is my C telling me? Is it telling me I'm choppy, I don't know what I want to do, or is it saying I'm in a momentum cycle, have been in a momentum cycle, and I'm holding my momentum cycle? Well, we can go through it, right? Accumulation, reaccumulation, MMB1, MMB2. Seer, I don't think it's choppy. I think this is beautiful action. Does that mean I'm trading Bitcoin? No, but what I mean is like we are one-sided and only going in one place right now. And if this holds, which it has the ability to hold even over 1 or 2 candles, this could go sideways for a week now or 2 weeks and still be a clean market. Which means if something in the general same market is showing insane strength, and most importantly, insane strength, what am I going to do? I'm going to be a participant. So, I become a participant. And as such, let's take the entire analysis, delete it, and put on the trade I'm in. There it is. Nothing more. And what is the game of management? Well, wait for your up candles, throw stops behind the up candles as they deliver, take my 50%, let the rest trail with whatever fucking rules you want. Use the MAs, use a range, use a structure, use like the range lines. We're gonna add these, by the way, so you can actually add these, but you can like fuck around with these. I'll make this like super, use simple range lines, let this thing move higher and just use that, etc. Right? You can do many things to manage a trade to make it valuable and good for you, right? There's nothing wrong with that. So again, I just wanted to showcase that because again, management comes down to the person. But that is how we interlope the V, the C, and the E. And exactly how, step by step, with portal material side by side, we arrived at this conclusion to take risk on this trade. And it's the exact principles I use every single week to take trades. Here's one I was watching. You can see I even wrote a message just in case I forgot. I skipped this. It was a great trade. I preferred a tiny bit more of a pause. Honestly didn't trade because I wasn't watching it and it was already a Good Friday because of the Ethereum trade in the morning. So I was basically relaxed and I hadn't even looked at it. But this is another example of a trade I could have been completely fine to be behind. You have a delivering market off of beautiful Vs, off a beautiful pause, and I just missed this thing. That's it. And then let's look at this trade really quickly. This is the one I took. And let's compare it to some of the stuff that I know other members are in and have taken. So I don't know if the trader that took this wants me to share his account size and value, but he's up around like 12, 15K on this trade. So nobody knows who it is, so no one's saying any names. But look at this trade and compare it to exactly what I just walked through. See if the case study or the play-by-play makes sense. Now walk yourself backwards. If the trade was here, what's the V doing? Well, the V is probably pausing on the 5, 10, 20. What's the C doing? It's probably in exactly what we spoke about today, either in this location or in this location, or paused and is in this location or this location. That's it. 1 of 4 locations. Ready? Is it in one of those 4 locations on the C? Yes or no? Of course. It's perfect. Accumulation, MMB, MMB, delivery. Let's move to our V time frame. Reaccumulation, MMB1, MMB1 or 2. Let's move to our entry time frame. Stage 2, flush, potential opportunity here based on if you're okay with like this more drastic little move here. I probably would have skipped this one, but even if you didn't, this is an easy break even just based on the move itself. Flush, just like we saw in Ethereum. Double MB. Here's an entry for some crazy people, right? You have double MB right here. I probably wouldn't take this because it's too low for me, but notice, a lot of these too low entries do work really well. I didn't take this, and he didn't take this, but MB1, MB2. He took this. Phenomenal trade. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. And to kind of wrap everything up, if we go to the screener right here, and I simply look at like, I don't know. How can I do this? Maybe like high to low or something. High to low or something. Let's see. If I just go to a very simple look at like the screener with some stupid simple settings. So you guys can even make these. Over 100 mil in 7-day dollar volume. A 15 candle change for a 2 hour set to above 4%, so something that's just moving up a little bit, and a 15 candle change set to a daily from top to bottom. I guarantee you if we look at any one of these top 10, there has been one trade available on any one of these this week. And it would have shown up for you way before the trade was available because if you notice, these have all made moves that are already disgustingly large, right? And look what's here. Do you guys see a certain name of a market? A crazy market. Who would have thought? Take a look at that name. Take a look at the trade of a person who's up, whatever, 5 figures, 6, like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Of someone that had traded this thing actively. There it is. All right, guys, name one of the things here and let's see if there was a trade on them. We can go through all 10 even. This is why the screener is also so fucking important to you because you can learn so much so quickly from just what's in front of you and available, right? We can go through it. Yeah, sure, GXAI. So just name the ones from this list. Remember them so I can just go through them. GXAI. Was there an available trade? Nope, there wasn't. At least not for me. There was no flush to the 20. Done. Thar. No available trade. No flush to the 20. What else we got? Go ahead. Any of these top 10. I guarantee, oh, we already have one that met 8 p.m. Is that on here? Yes, it is. Okay, 8 p.m. No flush to the 20, right? So clearly we don't even have to consider what's going on. Thar, we already looked at Thar. We don't need to re-look at that. Neg. Well, there's a trade. Right? And there's one here too. You can see I drew it out. Right, preference-wise, you might say it's extended, which is fine because there is a lot of MMBs on this. So there's a way to skip the fact that this trade was a little bit could have been break even or whatever, right? This probably would have been a break even for me. You enter, moves up here, you move to break even, blah, 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 gaps up, comes down, takes you out of break even. Great. What else we got? I'll just start going. Kidley. Okay, I even analyzed this. There you go. No trade. Maybe you could trade this double MB here if you really wanted to. Like right here, but it's a harder one. I probably wouldn't have touched it. And now you're just kind of going sideways, okay? Thar, we did open. Oh, I think this one had a trade this week too. Look at this. These all happened this week. So literally you have a tool that is telling you, hey, you might want to look at me. I might be in that kind of context that's worth looking at. And this is just 10 out of 430. So my question is, if you take the time to learn the system, understand the portal, understand your system and your entries, do you think you could catch at least one of these moves or these moves in the course of 4 months? At least one. Yes or no is number one. And then if yes, do you think that one of these winners could pay for even 10 losses or break-evens that you taken over those same 4 months? Okay, and now you guys know what profitable trading looks like. That's it. That's literally it. So now, let's keep executing the exact same thing. Let's go through the portal material and then execute the exact same thing. Let's continue to layer the EVC together and do the exact same thing. Let's continue showing up to the webinars every single week to do the exact same thing, because that's all trading is. Trading is going to be boring as shit. The only fun part of these webinars should be the fact that, holy shit, he's just doing the same thing and it's working. Oh my God, I can't wait to do this myself. And yeah, I get to be part of the community and talk to him, right? Because we get to talk to each other, which is amazing. That's it. What about the current price of Ethereum? It looks really good. It didn't have really a good flush, but I assume maybe it'll do a flush before open and then we continue. This would be amazing. Hopefully we get a flush to the 20. Comes down like at the end of today, opens up Monday, 9:30 a.m., 10:30 a.m., 11:30, bink, and we gap up on my trade and I make money. Is hopefully how it goes, right? That's it. But right now, I don't think it's good. I think right now it's pretty shit. If you're trading like a lower time frame, maybe you started looking in here for an entry, but you can see then it got a little bit choppy. I would ignore it now. And if it goes up here and then pauses, you can definitely trade here for lower or wait for it to flush, boom, accumulation, and then boom, you should have trades here on a lower time frame to go higher. And remember, Ethereum has insane strength, so at the moment, it looks really, really good. 64-Bit Gaming says, sir, can you tell me from which episode I should watch webinar? This is my second month. Yep, you can go back 20 webinars and watch from there. Go back exactly 20 and watch forward. Because the webinars are just a highlight of what you saw in the portal. Used in real time, used by me, shown to you with real data of what I've actually and actively traded, and how that real data plays out, even when I make mistakes or have big losses, minus 5.6, right? One of the biggest losses I've ever had, but that's gonna happen, like that can happen. And now you can see I'm in a trade. I'm in ETHU. It currently stands to be a 0, but of course at open, here we go. At open, we are going to manage this. Show that loss. It was on BitX. It was a gap down. Here you go. I took this trade, got in, moved to break even. At open, it gapped here, and I took a minus 5.6. Very unfortunate. But this was more of an MMB entry. So again, one of the ways to prevent this is manage your MMBs better. Potentially, don't take the MMB, play the double MBs instead, but it's okay. I mean, it's fine. This was no problem. I was happy with the risk. So, yes. Also, guys, I know a lot of you, by the way, first of all, I want to thank everyone for being here. My voice is kind of getting shot right now, though. I know a lot of you wrote a lot of questions, so I see Gaganins. I see, like, there was a lot that I saw. I think, no, not K9. Yeah, Broker YMZ. Like, a lot of members, I want you guys to know that like, I saw them, but there was a few things I really wanted to focus on in this webinar today. And we're about 2 hours now. We have Scully. So what I ask you guys to do is just take your question, like, remember it, copy, paste it into a notepad or something, keep it there, show up next week, and I will make sure that next week focuses a lot more, not just on technicals like we did today, and portal and all that, but focuses a lot more on specific questions around like what you guys were asking, right? So I want to make sure everyone knows I didn't not see them. I saw all the questions. I just really wanted to focus on a few main things today, especially the fact that we've had an exceptional market with exceptional trades, and we get to see those exceptional trades happen in real time. And again, they can come down and be a break even anyway. Like, we don't know. This can be a break even by tomorrow, right? But I want to lay the foundation so you see how the big trades that I get after, months of kind of doing tiny, tiny trades that are slowly building me up, how these happen and the steps that are taken to take them, right? So please, please, please don't be mad that I missed questions or whatever, like Diplo, I see Fope, Jamonva, maybe, just a few questions here. Copy and remember your question, And next week we'll focus much more on you guys, okay? Much more like Q&A slash I get to work with you guys, okay? So I apologize on my side from that, but hopefully the technical aspect of this one helped, pushed you a little bit more forward, gave you some psychological well-being in terms of what patience is going to look like, your own trading, etc. So I want to thank everybody. You guys are amazing. Please keep your questions for next week and just literally paste them at the beginning, and I'm going to hit them all. But have yourselves an amazing week. You guys are amazing. You guys make these webinars what they are. And yeah, let's just I'll see you on the Trade Talks, okay?